the corner of her eye, wrapping your teacher, Mrs. Valdez's laptop in toilet paper. All right, that's pretty funny. I'm just gonna laugh at her. But finally, on age 8, things will get interesting. We have a family vacation. Not really too worried about that, but we'll enjoy it. But what I'm more worried about is going into mind and body, and we're gonna start trying to get fit. So we're gonna do some martial arts. Let's practice some karate. Our parents agree to let us do karate lessons, and we become a white belt. And we might as well just keep continuing doing this, because what we're gonna do for this playthrough is try to become an athlete. This is important because to have 1,000 kids, I'm pretty sure it's going to cost a lot of money. So we will get that money by becoming a famous athlete, and then we'll go about getting the kids. Now we got a karate kick along with our red belt, and karate lessons are pretty much done. But we should be stronger now. I don't think we can start any sports just yet, but that will be good for later. Now our parents want us to do drum lessons. I'm not going to do those. All I care about is sports. Our mother is suffering from hemorrhoids. I really didn't need to hear that about you, Mom. And our classmate Lorenzo tells us that he's going to fail his class unless we let him cheat off of us. I'm not going to do that. I don't even know you, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. But then on age 13, okay, we have our classmate Vinny, who's been teasing you about your socioeconomic status. I'm going to attack him. Dude, I know karate, all right? I'm going to karate your throat really quick. And that does a lot of damage. We have been sent to the principal. I will apologize. My bad. And I'm sorry about it, Dad. You know, I gotta do what I gotta do, though. I did go to karate for a reason. But on age 13, we can actually start going and working out at the gym, which I feel like is gonna be a good thing for us. We just want to become as strong as physically possible. And then we're also getting red spots on our body. All right, anything that's going wrong with me, we gotta go to the doctor right away, especially once we start having kids. But it is time to join an activity. I'm thinking we do the basketball team. We're actually doing great, but our grades aren't good enough. Okay, fine. I'll actually study harder. Come on, Gabe. Why do I need to be smart? How about now? Let me join the basketball team. And coach, I hate you. But we start high school. Here's where we can hopefully actually join the basketball team. I actually did some studying, all right? And there is not an opportunity here. I guess you know what? Let's go for football. Hopefully I can actually do. My grades are still bad. Come on, me. Actually study a little bit. I know we're not the smartest person in the world, but we're trying. All right, age 15. Our parents have a new child. We're suffering from anxiety, but our grades are above 50%. If they don't allow me to join the football team here, that's actually kind of crazy. Oh, we actually made it. Cool. So now we need to improve our performance a lot. So I'm just going to keep going over to our performance. We're going to practice harder. Then after that, we can go forward a little bit. We can take a driver's test. I'm just going to have someone driving me all the time, so we don't need to do that. And our skills are definitely becoming better at the football team. Hopefully we have enough time to get these all the way up to the top. I should probably also make sure I'm actually caring about grades because that could go very badly. But our parents have ended their relationship. That's kind of sad. Dad, I don't need to know that you're suffering hemorrhoids. I don't care. And we're definitely getting better at football. It doesn't tell us what position we're playing, so we could be doing anything. But I'll keep practicing harder. This is going to be our last year where we graduated high school, and we received a full athletic scholarship to play football at university. So let's study English, let's accept it, and start university. And Tom wants to become our best friend. I don't think you just ask someone, do you want to be my best friend? Like, that's a weird question. I'm not going to lie, Tom. But anyways, it is basically the same thing here, where we're just going to practice harder on the football team. Oh, our mom did get married to a new stepfather, Landon Gonzalez, a 45-year-old restaurant worker, and they went to Rome. Now, what are we going to call him, though? I'm not going to call him Daddy Gonzalez. Why is that even an option? We're going to call him Buddy. And then our father has married a new stepmother, Amanda Guy, a 26-year-old insurance agent. Now, our coach has asked us to become the captain. Of course I will. We're all the way up to the top of our team, so that's really good. And, you know, I might as well spend time with my actual family for once. I have not been doing that at all. Our stepfather, stepmother, and friend refused this. That's just so rude. We're almost to the point on where we're going to start hooking up, but we got to make some money first. I should also probably start a social media presence. This does seem like a lot of work to actually do stuff though, but we'll make a post, just a random post. And yeah, I'm not going to worry about that actually. All right, we have graduated and we're also a very good prospect. So of course we're going to be eligible and we're going to the Jacksonville Jacks. We were drafted in the second round. We will take it for $1.5 million and I will take that as well. So now only a little bit farther until we can start our true objective of this. First though, we have to start practicing. So we got tackling, defending, and celebrations. I'll work on all of them. And there's also just training your regular fitness. So we should probably do some of that. But yeah, we're not the greatest, but we're all right. You know what? We'll just go in the next year. You just botched a play and your coach pulled you off the field amid a bunch of boos. Suddenly, you lock eyes with a female fan serenading you with beautiful Beautiful by Christina Aguilera, singing Shane Shallows is beautiful no matter what they say. All right, yeah, we'll hook up with you. You know, I appreciate that. And we get a baby. Okay, so this is going to be our first baby. And what we're going to do for these is use the golden pacifier. This did cost me $7, which kind of sucked, but it allows us to choose how many kids we want so we can choose triplets. Also, since the post I'm going off of had so many daughters, we're also going to make them all daughters too. We also finished our rookie season, and our coach also said that we're a liability. I mean, trade me, I guess? He refused. Okay. What a weird thing to say to one of your athletes. Am I wrong about that? Now we got our first set of triplets. I'm not going to worry about actually naming them. And our athletic career is not going the best, but it's not going terrible. Oh, our fitness is actually awful though. It's because last season I got a lot of injuries. There's a lot to worry about for what you have to do here. You know what? We need a good season. It's time for a performance enhancer. You tried a round of performance enhancing drugs. Don't do this in real life. Our stats are definitely a little bit better, so we'll take it. And our stepmother, Amanda Guys, divorced your father. Didn't really care about you guys, I'm not gonna lie. Along with, we decided to celebrate a triumphant game at a 5-star French restaurant with some close friends. As you're feasting on rich food and expensive bottles of wine, a fan from the opposing team approaches your table to say you suck in hopes you get food poisoning. We're just gonna say no to that. And then there's also some trash talk. I'd call you a dog, but that'd just be an insult to man's best friend. Gonna blow that guy a kiss. And then you drop back in coverage on a pivotal 4th down play, and the quarterback throws the ball to the running back you're covering. It's a good pass, so you decide how you will play the ball. Well, we're good at tackling, so I guess we just prepare to take... Oh, no. And we broke our clavicle? You gotta be kidding me. Well, not the best season, but 11th out of 32. And I missed 14 out of 16 games? I was also released. Are you kidding me? But we get a new contract offer, $60 million. This is what we needed. We're gonna accept it. We see that a team anticipates a big win this weekend and wants to congratulate the coach in a spectacular fashion. They ask you for suggestions. Do a nice Gatorade shower, that's always good, but we broke 7 fingers, you gotta be kidding me. And because of that, we missed 7 out of 16 games. Okay, I don't care about this anymore. Coach admires the way you handle your balls on the field. Coach, that is a really weird thing to say, but anyways, I'll compliment you on it, I guess, and we can vaccinate our kids. Okay, we got money. It's finally time for the point of this video. So what we're gonna do, find someone to love, hook up, do a one-night stand. We go for literally anything, and then hopefully we'll have kids. That first time we didn't. But we'll just keep trying with this, and anytime we do get them, we're gonna use the golden pacifier, get some triplets, and it's time for me to do this for like the next hour. Then anytime we see any symptoms, we're gonna go to the doctor right away, go to the better doctor. We got syphilis this time, but thankfully we were able to be cured. And also another pregnancy. Yeah, this is why we wanted to have so much money before all this, because we're gonna have a lot of diseases. Finally, after a while though, when we click the button, it's gonna say you're unable to find anyone to love. But thankfully, you can just quit out of the app. Yeah, if we quit the app and go back in, we can just go back to love, go back to hook up, and it's time to do this some more. I'm gonna be here for so long, man. We did finally get genital herpes though, which means we're not really able to fix that. We could try alternative doctors. I don't even know if any of these can do anything, but we'll try it. Yeah, none of them actually worked. Okay, time to become a really bad person. Because now every time we hook up with someone, unfortunately, they're gonna get what we have. I am so sorry about this, guys. I just need my 1,000 kids. Oh, and we also just got HIV. Okay. Yeah, I was expecting this to happen eventually. Sorry about this, people I am hooking up with. Okay, we've been at it for more than 30 minutes now. Let's go and see how many kids we have. So right now we have 10 relationships. We'll spend some time with them, and then we can age up once, and oh no. I now have to go in. Okay, yeah, this is gonna take a second. Oh, okay, we got it done. We also have a fan interaction. I don't really care about the fans right now. And our team, I don't care how they're doing either. We have been traded. Yeah, that's fine with me, I guess. We're still making our money. And time to see how many relationships we have. So we can scroll down. The game really doesn't want me to scroll down, but we can. And see that we have 295 relationships. We're not even halfway done. That's fine. I'm just gonna have a nice time spending time with them. And I'm gonna take a break. Okay, my recording crashed, but as you can see, we have a lot of kids now, and the game does not like us scrolling through these guys. Yep, I literally lost 3 hours worth of a recording, but that's okay because it was literally just grinding. Unfortunately, we do have a couple of our kids that died, so that is sad. But we have a lot of relationships, and we're gonna spend time with each and every single one of them, including a new relationship who's our wife, and that's why we have so much money. I don't know why she agreed to marry us. I literally have 1,000 kids. But now there's only one last thing to do, and that's die. So we're gonna go visit the witch doctor. And yeah, it worked literally right away. That is our death. Net worth over $500,000. We were a professional athlete. We had 1,060 children and 544 lovers. Shane Shallows passed away after consuming room of hemlock at the age of 32. His services were attended by his mother, his father, his faithful wife, Tanya, his 1,052 loving daughters, and his 2 sisters, Madeline and Mia. Shane got his college degree in English. Shane's hard work paid off when he became a starting defensive lineman for the Jacksonville Jacks. Someone at his funeral claims he gave her HIV. I gave a lot more than one person. Yeah, I'm never gonna get that time back that I spent on this, so subscribe if you enjoyed. Bye.
The story begins in the third round of the last phase of a competition. There stood the youngest participant of the competition. That boy was named Yu Sang-yum. The narrator informs that this young man had scored 10 points in all his long-range hits, wondering if on his last arrow he would hit the mark again. He then prepares to hit the target, throwing the arrow and striking dead center. People are surprised, not believing he had hit, hugging him and saying he was a genius sent by God. And then he ends up being the champion of the competition. Sometime later, his boss was throwing a mountain of papers in the protagonist's face. The bald man calls the young man, asking if he was distracted. Sang-yun apologizes as he had not noticed. Next, the old man tells him to get ready, asking what those documents were thinking, where he could use the protagonist with those useless skills. Sometime later, the boy had done everything he had to do, saying he had done a good job. Then it ends up getting dark. The boy was watching a video remembering his championship, mentioning that it had been 10 years since that day, because the bow was the only thing he had. However, it cost a lot of money to chase his dream, and he still lived with his grandmother, so he had no choice but to give it up. And day after day, he continued training again and again, thinking it was incredible to be someone who already had a certain and promising future, because he was sure he would have a bright future. But it was not as he thought, because if his coach had not introduced him to that job, he would be unemployed forever. The boy becomes sad remembering his past, saying that it was enough to remember all that, affirming that he would watch a live to unwind. Looking for a live, he realizes that they were only broadcasting live from a game called Full Dive. A game that made you feel like you were in real life, and one of the ones that had the best experiences, being able to play the game with a console in the form of a capsule. However, it was very expensive, so the protagonist could not even dream of getting a console like that. Even so, the boy feels happy because he could at least watch this incredible game. Watching the live, one of the viewers sends a gift saying for the guy who killed a pig with a bow in less than 15 minutes. Aiming several arrows at once, the boy says he will get it very easy, thanking for the donut. Then he throws the arrows with magic at the pig. However, he did not hit any. Then the chat starts to tease him because it was very easy to hit. The guy sends a donut again, asking why he had picked up a bow because he did not even know how to use one, and the boy responds that he thought everything was possible in the game, giving an excuse that the machine was delayed. Sang-yun observes the comments, teasing the streamer, thinking about what the guy said, because it would be a lie if he said he did not envy them. Because if he had the opportunity, he wished to sacrifice himself, giving his all and being recognized by everyone. The boy turns off the computer, thinking that it was already time to sleep. Then the night passes, and the young man thinks he should restructure himself, making a resignation request. His boss warns that if he left without a problem, they would take good care of him. But if he was excluded during this period, he would have a great chance of not getting a spot again. Even so, the boy wanted to resign. The bald man asks if that was really his choice, and the protagonist affirms, mentioning that if he left at that moment, he would also receive compensation. Then he asks the young man to sign the contract today, telling him not to regret his choice because he entered with connections. The boy thinks that everyone in that company went through a lot of trouble to enter that agency, where they even studied abroad. However, they had no choice. Sometime later, the protagonist was in his bed reflecting on his past, remembering again that it had been 10 years. The youngest national championship winner, who was just a high school student. He becomes sad because he always remembered his past, wishing to correct his mistakes. Thinking about what he should do, the cell phone suddenly rings. Sangyun, observing the notifications, realizes that the streamer from before was doing a live again trying to kill the pig, remembering the words the guy said before, saying that if everything was possible in that game, it would also be possible to use the bow and arrow as before, and besides, he would stream for people to see him. However, he wonders if using his skill he would be able to become popular, mentioning that the guy who was watching the live before was the one who watched the most, and although he was not a good player, his viewers liked him. Then he starts to search on his computer if there were many streamers besides him, realizing that there were many people in this world who recorded all kinds of live. Realizing that there was much more than he thought, he says he had many excellent streamers. Besides, there were many who showed their skills for those who watched to improve. Without a doubt, it was a much bigger world than he imagined. A giant world of options he could choose. Sangyun remembers that that was the world he loved and lived when he was younger, where he was dedicated to constantly improving and competing with others. A simple world, but very distant. However, even so, he wanted to try. Sometime later, Sangyun was talking to his friend saying he would buy the console. The guy is surprised because the protagonist would spend all his money just on a game, asking several things about the situation. Observing the situation, the protagonist wonders if there really was any problem doing that, because in his old company, Juhyuk was the only person he could trust because there were no trustworthy people there. And unlike him, his friend had a successful life among the elite, creating a path to his success. Juhyuk asks the boy how much the capsule was, saying he wanted to give that money to his friend and mentioning that there was additional equipment in it. Sangyun is surprised because he needed other equipment, and the guy asks if he thought it was just the capsule, mentioning that his electricity bill would go up. Sometime later, the protagonist and his colleague were observing a building, realizing that they were in a place where they rented capsules. The protagonist asks why they were there because he needed to buy one of them and not rent. Next to the entrance, a man was collecting trash. That guy was one of the store employees, asking if he wanted to buy a capsule, because if the boy wanted, he could sell them for a cheaper price, and call in the young man to take a look. Inside the store, Sangyun observes the capsules, being surprised at how they were. Then the guy suggests to the protagonist before buying it is better to test one of them, taking the young man for some physical tests because to enter the capsule that was necessary. While the protagonist was doing the tests, his friend was outside along with the employee, thanking him for his help. The guy says it was no big deal, but suggests stopping the boy, because there were many people like him who watched the streamers playing and thought they could do the same, showing their skills. However, it was not as they thought it would be. The boy asks if even games with augmented reality were so different from real life. Then he answers that yes, because in the game he could use his physical abilities. However, as the game had no physical limitations, there was a lack of discernment and mentality in people, mentioning that the protagonist had been fired from his company, so maybe he would give up playing the game after the test. The guy tells the protagonist that the game he was going to play was called Real Olympics because he had been an athlete. Closing the capsule, the protagonist goes into a trance with the machine, thinking it was incredible and mentioning that he felt his mind was going somewhere else. At that moment, Sangyun opens his eyes, realizing he was in another place, looking down and seeing that he was holding a bow and arrow. He is perplexed because it was like reality. Then the boy prepares to shoot the first arrow, wondering if he didn't remember when he used his bow because his hands were trembling. Watching the protagonist, his friend asks why he hasn't shot yet, and the guy says he must be nervous. But seeing the protagonist, he says there was no way he could be nervous. Sangyun says all this was different from real life, realizing he was no longer trembling. Then he shoots the arrow, hitting the target dead center. The two are surprised because he scored 10 points. Then Sangyun continues to shoot several times, hitting all the arrows. His friend asks if the game was really different from real life, but the guy says the protagonist was getting used to it incredibly fast. However, observing him better, he says he might be mistaken because it was different, asking who was really that boy. Then the match ends and the protagonist exits the game. The employee says he was amazing, saying it would be a waste for the boy to buy just a second-line product, suggesting buying a better one. With Sangyun downcast, the guy asks if everything was okay with him. Watching the protagonist, his friend wonders what his true identity would be, remembering that he was the youngest to win a gold medal, mentioning that the boy could have been the best in the world until an accident happened, and saying that he really wanted to help him since the protagonist really liked that, remembering that it had been a long time since he used the bow and arrow. How could he forget that accident? That cold look from the doctor watching the protagonist. The dream that Sangyun had to give up. Sometime later, already at the protagonist's house, the capsule was already installed. At the same instant, Sangyun already starts the machine to test, happy because he could start streaming whenever he wanted. Remembering that the store clerk had given a good price on the capsule, he worries if that was a good deal. Then Sangyun begins to start his streaming, making the preparations, choosing a game. Kyaimjijo in age, a game in medieval times with a focus on the life of a mercenary, was not very famous, but has its own fan base. Popular games have a larger number of streamers, but that game did not have a large number of players, so it would be a good game to start as a streamer. At the same instant, the boy finished creating his character. The system informs that the game would start in 5 seconds, and then the protagonist enters. In a giant flash, someone calls the boy. Opening his eyes, Sangyun realizes he was in a carriage. Looking around, the boy wonders where he was. However, he realizes something. At that exact moment, a battle was happening. The protagonist notices that confusion, and at the same instant someone calls him. A man pointing the sword at Sangyun and asks if he needed another attack to get up. This guy is the captain of the mercenaries. Sangyun apologizes, thinking if it was him who had assaulted him. The guy informs that they were being attacked and tells the boy to grab a weapon. At that moment, the system appears asking him to choose one. Sangyun, looking at the options, is confused about why there was no option for a bow. At the same instant, someone comments on his live asking if he wanted a challenge with a bow. The boy is surprised when he realizes that there were people watching him, thinking he chose the right game. Sangyun asks why he should do a challenge to get bow. Then the guy asks if he was new to the game, saying that bows could hit allies, besides that he would need to count his arrows, which could end up being bad. The boy understands how it is and thanks the person who was watching. Then the guy suggests the protagonist to pick up a sword, however the boy chooses the bow anyway. Then they start teasing him, saying that he was a newbie and besides that he was bad, but the protagonist didn't care. He wonders where his bow was, but at the same instant, a bow hits a person behind him. With the guy down and an arrow in his chest, the bow flies towards the protagonist. The system informs that he got a bow, however he only had 20 arrows, and the chat starts teasing the protagonist, saying that always happened when a newbie chose a bow. His captain observes the boy standing still and asks why he wasn't doing anything, asking him to attack. Sangyun focus begins to aim at his target. Watching attentively, he shoots the arrow towards the enemy, hitting precisely his enemy, making the chat of his lives surprised with his skill. The boy thinks that it was different from traditional archery, assuming he was between the modern and the current era. Asking the chat if to defeat the enemies he needed only one arrow, but the chat says that in that game, they simulated everything as if it were in real life. Sangyun thanks for the explanation and thinks that it was just him always hitting the head. His chat teases the boy again because no one believed in him, but he would prove to them with results. Then he starts to shoot his arrows, hitting all the vital points of each one. The boy says it was getting late, so he should finish that once, thinking he thought he wouldn't be able to hit the moving targets, but it was very easy. Sangyun observes his captain, who was in a battle, realizing that it was a battle of shield bearers, wondering if he should help him, but if he did, that he could end up running out of arrows. At the same instant, Sangyun notices a gap, shooting his arrow at the head of the enemy. He realizes that it was the last enemy because all the others had fled. The boy realizes that the chat was not typing anything asking what had happened, but the chat starts typing, incredulous with what he had done because it was not normal, asking several things to him. Sangyun asks if he did something wrong or if he shouldn't have killed the boss. However, the chat says that it was not possible to kill him, leaving him confused because they had said that everything died with a shot. Then the chat mentions that it was not always that a boss took a blow to the head, and he affirms, asking how he had done that because it was impossible, saying that the bosses have a shield, so if you're not fast, they dodge everything. Then Sangyun asks if they never used a bow because it was easy to pull the arrow. He is surprised, asking if the protagonist could pull the bow to the maximum every time. However, a person arrives calling the protagonist, asking if that was really him because he was different, saying that it was incredible, saying that he had never seen anyone as good as the boy with a bow and arrow. The chat is surprised because it was the first time they saw the captain speaking that way. While he asks who that mercenary he had never seen before, the game community was known as the Age of the Kingdom, but it had stagnated. Although most players liked the game, the lack of interesting moments made the community discuss the same things over and over again, until one day there was a different post. A boy who was just a beginner, instead of running away, killed the boss alone and was praised by his captain. Everyone is surprised, thinking that it was fake because they had never seen Roman praise someone, thinking it was impossible because it was just a novice who had created his account a few days ago. He is surprised by all those comments because he could never imagine that it would happen to him, thinking it would be good for them to continue discussing because it would increase his image. But the boy is surprised by a comment, saying that even Electro, who was a veteran, would not come out unscathed from that boss. Sangyun remembers that name because it was one of the players who had more visibility on streamers. He is surprised because in just a few days he was already being compared to one of the best. Then the chat says it would be bad for the boy to compare himself with someone so great because it would be very cruel. Watching all that, Sangyun asks if it was real. At the same instant, his phone rings. Who had called was his friend, asking if his live had been successful, and the boy confirms. He asks if there was any problem with the machine, however the protagonist warns that it was working perfectly. His friend asks if he had any views, and the protagonist says he had 20. Surprised by so many views for a beginner, asking what he had done to get so many. But the boy says he just chose a good game. The guy asks why he had so much talent, and the conversation continues for a while. The protagonist warns that he would hang up because he needed to make the preparations for his live, but the guy asks if he would start at dinner time. However, the boy says he didn't have dinner because that was his job now. His friend smiles happily for him. At the same instant, someone calls him, asking why he was eating at that time. And then he hangs up the phone. Opening the capsule, the boy thinks he should have eaten better, but he wanted to start as soon as possible, because since he started in that community, his heart wouldn't stop racing, wondering how long he hadn't felt that way. The attention he had and all that was incredible. The boy then starts his live, receiving a flood of comments asking why he was doing live at that time. Sang-Yun finds it strange because the comments were moving much faster than before. Then he checks the views, which had increased much more. Surprised by that number of viewers, the protagonist gets nervous because he had never been in a situation like that. However, he sighs, thinking that it was not real life, because it was just a game he was playing in third person, saying that when he played that game his nervousness disappeared in a flash. Then the boy recomposes himself, saying to go back to where they had stopped before,